Hi, welcome everyone to the podcast, to the Facebook, Instagram world. I'm here with Simon Paul Sutton, and we've just been talking about labels. I'm not going to label him. We're going to have a little talk about that, and we're also going to talk about connection. Welcome, Simon. Thank you so much. We finally got round to meeting. And yeah, I'm just here to have a conversation that brings joy, enlightens us, is interesting, and leaves us wiser than we were before. That's my
Mm,
intention.
no expectations there then.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the invitation and conversation. Yes, such a joy, no, that we can actually come together and converse at this time. And it's funny, as you were saying, no labels, there I am changing. I usually just have on my Zoom divine being, because that's really how I see myself and everyone that's listening. Deep at the core, and of course that can maybe come across a bit ambiguous, and I'm kind of out there as many different labels, and one being Simon transparently, because really I'm just, as you said just before we pressed record, I'm interested in truth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in deep intimacy, which I believe is the opportunity to look deep inside ourselves. And often, as you asked me, like, oh, what should I, how should I kind of title you? And the dance in this world of titles and labels is ironically something that I kind of want to dissolve, for each of us, because I don't know whether these titles necessarily create more connection, which is a theme of your beautiful podcast. Um, but they do enable us to compartmentalize, and then also kind of label, judge, and go, well, if Jemima is this, then that must mean she's this, and then I can meet her here, and then I maybe need to talk about this to connect with her. And I just find it's very limiting. And then maybe just to throw in there, one of the events that I co-created was called Naked.
Mm.
That Naked, which has been a continuation these last several years, was an opportunity to strip away all of this, and
Yeah.
not just the idea of taking off our clothes, which is a very intimate and beautiful experience, but actually, like, who are we when we strip away all of this just for these 10 days? Like, I don't care what you are really, or what you've studied, or what label you've become. Who are you in your vulnerability, your this moment? What am I, what am I meeting, if I don't have all these labels that have already told me what you are? So
It's a real invitation into deep presence, isn't it? It's just like, can you be here right now with what is here right now? And it reminds me of when you teach little ones language, before they have the words, that everything is so open, the collection of bricks or stones that is the garden wall is this incredible thing until you just stamp on it and go, that's a wall, That's kind of how we do, because we need it to make sense to our brains. Otherwise, it's quite hard to get any further. But I see it as almost like this return. It's like a coming back to our innocence in some ways, that you can't really do until you've had all of that other entanglement put on top of you. So it's like an unlearning and untangling. It's like getting right back to the bones of it, which I absolutely adore. I'm so here for it.
yeah. Yeah, beautifully said. And well, this. I mean, it's lovely for me today just to be here in deeper connection with you. Like, we connect online, yeah, we connect
Yeah.
through different groups over the years. I see your posts at times and see your courage and your desire for truth, and to be transparent, and to be raw and vulnerable, and to be strong. And we're at this time where there is, for some of us, let's say, that are privileged enough to be able to have a computer, have a mobile phone, and can access certain ways of deeply empowering ourselves. This is a time for me, and maybe this is my projection because it's where I am in my trajectory of this exploration of life, but is a call to sovereignty. There's a call to deep responsibility. There's a call to rewiring the outdated programs and shackles of the past. And without just pointing the finger, it's not just pointing the finger like, oh, this society is a nightmare, they did this, the government did this, it's all this. No, actually, we were domesticated from a young age, as were all of our parents, and as is the whole of the society. And there's one book that I thoroughly love that describes this domestication for me so simply, and I like things simple. That's why I'm called Simple Simon at times. Is that Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements, really in the first 2 chapters, just outlines the domestication that all of us have been through. And some resonate with it, some don't. That's fine. But for me, it resonates so deeply of the domestication that each of us went through, and what we acquiesced to and agreed to, what he calls the book of law, that we acquiesced and agreed to, that then started the building blocks. You mentioned the brick wall a moment ago, but the building blocks of our conditioning, our programming. And so what I'm seeing, which is so exciting for me, and I know you're on this path, is round 2, is that how much of a gift it is when we can just invite somebody else to look at that programming and conditioning, that domestication, these false beliefs, these lies around shame, guilt, blame. We're a sinner, we're unworthy. There's lack and scarcity everywhere. We have to compete to become someone. We're not already whole and complete. We must buy, purchase, consume in order to be someone, right? Once that starts to dissolve because you have a heightened awareness to see that that was all bullshit, then life starts to get very, very interesting. Because it's like, so who am I without all of this conditioning? How do I, from a complete whole being, a divine being, a miracle in flesh, how would I function if I didn't believe all of this indoctrination that was false belief that I acquiesced to because my mum and dad did do, and so did everybody else?
Yeah.
So that for me is the root. No, that's exciting, because then we go, oh, I can actually claim back some of my own power. Like this whole thing you said around connection, I can connect to myself in a much more authentic way.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of what I am excited about.
Yeah, I love it. And that question to me is, there's such a freedom in it, because the focus that takes of trying to figure out, like, what is the game? How do I win at this game? How do I get all the things? Or how do I get all the adoration? Or how do I, all of those? It's like, oh, well, if I'm not going to look over there and instead I'm going to look in here, that gives me a whole new perspective, and that is a lot more empowering. And I just totally agree, like sovereignty is where it's at, because not only is that the only sane choice for me as an individual, but it also means that I'm by default so kind and so accepting of other people, because I acknowledge that they're at sovereign choice as well. So I don't try and control. I don't, like it, I'm not expecting. It's just like, I'm an individual, you're an individual. Let's see where we can meet. Let's see how we can connect. And that is a real freedom to me. It takes off a whole load of bullshit that doesn't belong.
Yeah, it definitely unleashes unleashes a lot of burdensome baggage, noise, nonsense. And what it does, really, I love what you said. You say, okay, I see them, it's their sovereign choice too. And I guess I'd probably question that beautifully, like, so it's your sovereign choice to see yourself as a sovereign being, which enables you to see the other being as a sovereign, if you will, or divine being. Some languages, some countries don't really grasp the whole word sovereign at times when I speak about this, or when I have conversations with others. So this idea of sovereign really is, I take full responsibility for the nature of my experience. Now, when I see you doing that, I see how you show up, I see you writing about this online, and I see that that's your practice, right? Through yoga, through movement, through all the things that you've been exploring yourself with. Simultaneously, what we do in that is we can't be naive and assume that somebody else believes they're sovereign, because most people, maybe I've lost you. Did I lose you? You froze.
I'm here. It's
Oh,
okay.
okay, good. Yeah, I don't know if you froze completely. So yeah, if you caught the last piece, I was saying not everybody is really in a sovereign place just yet, because one, it's kind of a new, let's say a new concept moving through consciousness, and two, in order for individuals to take full responsibility for the nature of their experience, there's a level of internal self-reflection, self-introspection required in order to even come to that stage of awareness. It's beautiful that you can do that, because then it enables that opening for someone else to at least go, wow, okay, Jemima's, it's interesting how Jemima's functioning. She's something different, or something a bit like, oh yeah, I don't get a sense that she's judging, or, you know, they would then start to inquire themselves through you taking that responsibility. But when I look out there at many individuals, and when I work with many individuals, they're not at the point where they're actually taking sovereign choice. Does it make sense what I'm saying? There's a distinction.
It does, and also that's a place that I've had to kind of work with as well, because knowing that it's not my business where anybody else is.
Yeah, yeah, it's not your, and it's not your business.
Absolutely not my business.
Yeah,
Everyone's got their path,
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
that's
I mean, I just
go
on.
It's freezing. No, it's okay. It's just dropping in and out. That's
okay. The sound is good at this end. I think the recording will be fine.
It's okay. I just don't want to speak over you. I don't want to speak over you, but it's like dropping and then freezing and then coming. Carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to reference one of my first observances of you online was you did a Facebook Live, and I think you were like upstairs in a McDonald's or something, and you were just face to camera, and you were expressing in such a raw way, and I can't even remember the subject matter. I just remember that I could feel you, like I could absolutely feel you through the screen, and you were crying, and you were just like talking so honestly, and it just made me go, yeah, that just like when you can connect with someone, and that's something that really drew me to you, and to get interested in, like, what are you doing, like how are you walking in this world, how are you going about your life. And I think the next one was also another Facebook Live where I joined you. One of us was on a park bench somewhere. I think we were both in England. But
yes, I remember.
You remember that? Yeah.
Yes. I was on a park bench, I believe, in Germany.
Okay. And it just made me realize that there is so much potential in this life, in this world, with the technology we have for human connection, and how amazing that is, and how it just made me feel so joyful and so lucky, just like, wow, I don't know this man, I've never met this man, and here we are, like just being human together, and we can be really truthful and really honest, and just share a moment, and that was probably, I just wanted to get that in there because it feels really important to me, because it really touched me and really made me go, oh, amazing,
Yeah, I think it's I think it's really important that you bring that in, actually. So that experience was, it wasn't in a McDonald's, it was actually upstairs in a kebab house. In a kebab house in Malta. And that's one of the realest, rawest videos I probably put out there. Yeah, I would say definitely. And I called it Breakdown in the Kebab House. And it was a breakdown, because And there's been many breakdowns, and there has to be in order for there to be breakthroughs, as you know.
For sure.
But that really is like, you know, when we ask about what is it that I'm interested in, I'm interested in transparency, and that was full transparency. Transparency for me, again, is a bit of a loaded word, and like, what does it mean, and so on. And you know, some people in some countries can't speak their truth. You know, if they speak their truth, they get killed. Some people in some countries, you know, they can't, then it's not allowed to express what's really going on inside of them. So transparency, of course, is an inside job. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to speak my truth and just blurt it out, you know, everywhere, because, you know, for some that could be very, very dangerous, and we have to have discernment. But yeah, that was a moment of real just seeing the absurdity in the world, seeing the violence in the world. And so my thing for many, many years, I guess, and when I made a decision, I kind of often reference it as being around 2007, 2008, kind of a little bit before that maybe, because things start happening before they actually happen. But there was a key moment to say, I want to stop lying. I want to stop lying. And previous to that, I'd been reading certain content and watching certain documentaries, and starting to get in this stage of the, let's say, the awareness becoming more expanded. I really started to notice how much lies are everywhere, and the bullshit is deep. It's really, and even now, you know, I can say that it's so deep, the levels of lies that we've been told, and that we tell, and that we continue to tell, based on what we spoke about earlier, the domestication. So I just wanted to see more truth in the world, but in my naivety and coming from a world of crime, because you know, this whole thing that I come from a very let's say dense environment, council estate upbringing, where, you know, very much it's all about fear, lying, deceit, and not really a lot of violent communication, just you know, just normal. It's not like everyone's just being real violent all the time, just obnoxious, rude, ignorant, arrogant communication, right? This is how it is the foundation. So when I made that decision to not lie again, I really thought like, that's me. I want to stop lying again. I don't want to play these lies in myself. Little did I know that it was going to take me on a deep journey into the greater awareness of me realizing that actually there are lies absolutely everywhere, and the whole of our system and society and sales and marketing and consumerism, consumption, is built on lies. And that's a big one, you know. And even as I say that now, I feel some emotion in my belly, because just the other day I was in deep grief for crying for at least half an hour or more in my bed in the evening, after the morning, doing a deep emotional release process that I do. I work with emotional release and support others to go deep into their emotions, trapped emotions. Yeah, and the grief that was pouring through, without wanting to give it too much story, you know, because it's just energy that's moving. Ultimately, it's energy, emotion, but of course it's linked to, you know, certain situations and beliefs in my being. And again, it was very much linked to, funnily enough, what I was speaking out in that video that you bring up. That's why I say it's very relevant.
Wow.
Just the same stuff of looking out in the world and seeing the magnitude of violence, no? Like, and kind of, yeah, not kind of, like, just actually just being shocked by it. I'm still shocked by it.
Yeah.
Like, even though I have an awareness and understanding of the root more than I ever did, and I can see the layers and you know, and I can kind of see the divine perfection in a lot of it, but I'm still shocked that human beings in the 21st century, you know, violate each other as they do, you know. And in my world, of course, through my path, I've become into quite, you know, if I didn't connect myself to all beings as an interconnected being, if I was just playing out my egocentric idea that I'm okay, my world's okay, I'm in the worlds of temple and sacredness and sovereignty and nobility, and we you know, we practice nonviolent communication, and you know, it's like I'm pretty much in a lot of joy, bliss and wonder, right? But I don't ever want to disconnect myself from what my fellow brothers and sisters, which are also me as an interconnected being, are enduring and going through. It's like you start to feel so much love, then simultaneously you feel so much pain.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe you want to jump in on there.
Yeah, just the contrast of it, you know, the contrast is wild. And you have to develop a bandwidth that can take it if you are on a mission. You know, if you have a vision and you're like, okay, this is my work, this is my dharma, this is why I've been put here on this planet in this life, like that, yeah, then I need to develop the bandwidth for my nervous system, like in my human body, in order to be able to carry out this work and to not collapse under it. Because yeah, it is a lot to hold. It is, you know, all this love, so much poignancy, so much transience and so much pain. It's just like, whoa, this is massive, you know, it's huge. And from that instance of seeing you in that video, it was so inspiring to me, and it just helped me to measure where I was at that time, which was like, oh my God, I could never do that. You know, it really felt like so far away from that place. And that's why I know it's so important for us to share our stories and for us to be open and be radically honest and share our truths, because of the impact it has on other people. And to me, that's the bridge. That is the bridge from being in the bubble of love and bliss to actually having an impact on the world outside of us. And I mean, it mostly fills me with joy. Sometimes I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? Oh my God, I should just go and work at Tesco's. But you know, it's just like,
Please don't do that.
yeah.
With all due respect to anybody listening that does happen to work at this.
Yeah. But I mean, I want to link this to your actual story as well. I was just watching the YouTube clip, which is a bit of your life story that is on the page about your book, Burglar to Buddha. Is that right? So I guess I would like to hear your reflections on how that has kind of impacted you, being radically honest, being truthful about your story, kind of opening up to the public and being like, this is my path, this is where I am now. Like, how's that been for you? Because it's big, you know, like you say, there's not many people in this world who are doing that, being that honest. I mean, give me the headlines of, like, you know, you were in prison when you were like 18 or something. Because
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just a funny one. I'm kind of still feeling the remnants of what you shared before, and I'm just feeling, I'm just feeling into that. It's I'm just, yeah, I kind of felt like before we like maybe move on to that, which is a beautiful question. It's I really love that you've evoked in this sense of feeling.
yeah,
Because the sense of this, you know, we can be on a podcast and we can talk, and you know, we have lots of you know, theories, concepts and ideas about how we can support others and inspire. But what you so beautifully have evoked, which I really appreciate, is this experience that was so vulnerable when I put that out there. And I haven't even seen that video for a long time. And it's funny because a friend mentioned it a few weeks back, a friend of mine called Philip, and it makes me, I'm curious. It makes me like, I want to, not necessarily go and look at the video, but it reminded me just I think it was last week, maybe 10 days ago, I recorded another video quite similar. It was about 45 minutes, and I was going to pop it into a podcast as well. And it's like I was reading this book called Sacred Matrix by Dieter Doom, and it's it's basically talking about deep sense of violence between the sexes is one of the key themes, and also the violence. And just in the first few pages, I kind of just read the first few chapters at the moment. It's quite a thick book, and yeah, the first few pages is just laying out what we're talking about right now. Again, just all the violence now, all the violence that we've kind of endured as a species, and also that's being kind of pushed under the carpet, let's say, or that we just have to, like you so wonderfully said, to hold that, to have the capacity to hold that. Most is a generalization, but a lot of human beings they don't have the capacity to hold that. To really, if we're talking about sovereignty and taking responsibility, to take responsibility that our actions on some level through our ignorance and our acquiescence has created millions upon millions of death and violence and subjugation and violation, like, and especially towards women, like, so much violation towards female-bodied beings that it's almost so shocking that you can't feel it. It's almost as if it kind of washes off of, like it's you know where I'm going with this. It's like it can't.
Yeah, like makes you freeze.
Yeah.
That's a response I'm really familiar with. And it's like if something is just too much, it's like I go out of range and I go into freeze.
Right.
And it's like, no, just dead, can't feel anything.
Yeah. So I'd love that. I'd love you to share, like, again, being a female bodied being and what you've experienced. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love you to kind of drop into that. You saw me sharing my feelings and emotions that kind of triggered something in you, and like, yes, that. And so, kind of, I guess I'd like to hear from you as well, who's a female bodied being, who's very vulnerable, very outspoken, and you're doing your thing. Just dropping into that in this moment, that sense of I can just feel a lot of emotion in my body. It's just it's sad, there's a sadness there, and there's a grief there, and it's in this video I said, like, I just said enough. It's that, it's like, when is enough? How many more women have to be violated? How many more men have to kill themselves in unnecessary wars? And we have children without fathers, and how many more before we say enough already? We talk of connection, and we have, all these different privileges, and of course some people can experience, and we can come into acceptance, and it's all perfect in the divine perfection, and we can go into meditation, and we can see that it's all perfect. And even this call for enough is the divine perfection.
Sure.
Iranians right now are in deep fucking war, where women are being killed and violated because they don't want to be subjugated to the suppression any longer. I mean, the list is endless that we don't get to see, because of course we're distracted. We have shit to do. We have a life. We've got to pay our bills. We've got to pay our rent. We've got to worry about our own existence. I'm not saying, like, all these charities that are helping people, some of them are helping, some of them are just a business. Just be real with it. That's how it is. And when we give our 10 years hoping that the Ugandan people are being helped, with all due respect, it's probably not doing much, you know, but yeah, at least it makes us feel a bit better. Yeah, maybe we gave 10 euros to the suffering, but I'm talking about that suffering is in each of us.
Yeah.
That's what I'm inviting people to feel right now. That's the connection. Don't give the 10 euros to the Ugandan people who are dying. Feel the fucking pain. Feel the fucking pain of the women who are getting raped and pillaged and the kids that are getting sex trafficked. Feel that shit. That's what I'm saying. You want connection. It's not good. It's not nice.
Yeah.
It's painful. The fucking heart hurts.
Yeah.
Feel it. That's what I'm saying, right? And that's what I don't see people feeling it. We've got the good solutions. We've got the philosophical fucking insights. We've got the, yeah, we can do this. No, feel it. Because what we feel, we heal. Feel it. It brings rage.
Yeah,
it brings
that is
rage.
exactly it. That is exactly it. That is the motivator to move the energy.
Yes.
Is
And
to
that,
feel
just
it.
feeling that rage. Just feel it in the chest. You know, I'm not like expecting anyone to do any great things. Just allow that rage. When I allow that rage, of course, after softness comes, of course, solutions can arise. Of course, I will make a conscious decision. But let's not fucking sugarcoat that women, children, men as well are being violated, and we constantly just go and support the fucking institutions, the organizations, we feed the system. And if we just go, whoa, what's my role in this? Do I have a role in this? You know, first feel, oh, okay, I notice how I'm doing that to my kids. Oh, I notice how I'm speaking to my lover. Oh, I notice how I'm disregarding myself. Oh, I notice how I'm condemning myself. I'm putting myself down. I'm doing exactly the same micro, macro, inner, outer, right? That's all I'm invoking. You know, we talk of connection. That's the level of connection I'm evoking.
It's powerful. It's really powerful. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Really, really good and really authentic. And thank you for slowing me down as well earlier when I wanted to jump to the book and to your story. This is what I'm talking about. This is the depth that I love and that I really want. And that is a pattern that I notice in myself. You know, the rush is just like, come on, let's do all the things, let's go over here, shiny thing, you know. And it's a real gift. It's a real gift that you could invite both of us to be in that space right now. Really good. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You reminded me of that, you know, like that was happening. Can't remember when we met, but that was happening. Like I was in Germany when that, not Germany when we spoke, I know on the call, but that was happening in Malta whenever. But like, it's like that feeling that I'm feeling now, that thanks to you bringing this in, and what I felt just the other day crying in my bed. And it's not, you know, it's not a sympathy call, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you know, I'm sad. It's like, you know, I'm fully embodied and take responsibility for my emotions. It's like, I don't want sympathy. I don't want fucking pity. Like, I want power. You know, and the power that we have in us when we feel, you know, and for men as well, you know, if you're any men listening to this like, you know, if we feel, there's a no, you know, like I work with couples, you know, I support couples, and most of the time I'm just like getting them, especially the male body beings, to stop the ignorant and rude communication that happens, you know. And it's not that the woman is not doing that too in male female relationships that I'm working with mostly. but there is something in us, you know, and I've seen it in my own relationships with the way that I can, you know, I come from a programming of men that think women should be in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
You know, I come from a program where men think the woman should have the dinner on the table when they come home from work. You know, I grew up in an environment where, you know, shouting, because if you shout louder, then somebody's going to listen, you know, and that is not, that is just bullshit. It doesn't work like that. No, you know, the shouting, when you get you shout, nobody hears. You know, my mum used to get shouted at, she switched off.
Yeah.
You know, in trauma response, you switch off.
Yes.
You know, and you said it lovely earlier. That's why I do understand, and I have great compassion that just showing another documentary of violence, or just seeing the children in pain, I get it. The trauma's too deep.
Yeah. Freeze.
You know,
Total freeze.
yeah. You can't see it. You know, it's like I get goosebumps when I say that. No, it's like even we, you know, kind of like, look, like we can do something. Have a look at this, and the body's like no more, please. I don't want to look anymore. You know.
Yeah. See, we are so sensitive.
Whew.
So sensitive. Like I felt that before you said it. Before, when you said I got goosebumps, I felt it all at the back of my head, and that's energy. It's like you can feel energy from wherever you are in the world. If you've got connection, then you can feel that energetic link that you have with another, and it's so amazing, so amazing. And that's part of my mission and my vision. It's like I want humans to be aware of that and to just enjoy it, you know, just enjoy it, because we're here to enjoy it. We're not here for very long, you know, just like learn how to do it well.
Yeah, well, there's a few things there you touch on, which is beautiful. You felt the goosebumps, and it's like, even that, right? Like just that. You felt the goosebumps even before I said it, right? You could feel it, like that, and then, as you said, your whole mission is about connection. So it's so beautiful that you said that. So we know the truth. We can feel the truth when we hear it or see it, right? It's like a knife that pierces through all the noise, right? Yeah. And so you saw something in me in that video, and you're like, yes, that's it. I feel the truth. I feel him. I can connect to this being you'd never even met before. Like, wow, what the hell? This guy's crying, you know, I can feel it. So that emotion, that deep emotion, whichever way it looks, of course, in laughter and joy as well. It doesn't, you know, I'm not just saying it has to be in tears and grief and rage, but that's where we connect, right?
Yeah.
That's how we feel. And then it's universal, right? So this is what I mean by it's universal. And then there's something I wanted to say when you said it. It popped in. You said, so we feel. That was it. So when we have that sense of a unified connection, that's where we feel it's universal, and that's where we can really we plug in from the personal to the universal. So therefore, all of a sudden, we can like get this deeper bond to the interconnectedness of all, because we all, like, you know, beyond the words, beyond the cultures, beyond the borders and so on, we all feel. This is what I feel you're pointing to as well, this deeper connection that is, you know, is beyond even the superficial of like, oh yeah, we're connected, we're friends, we're on the phone, or, you know, whatever. It's like you're calling this deeper depth, basically, this depth.
Yeah. And I think I could be wrong here, I don't know, but I think there's a word, compassion, which is the feeling of feeling felt. It's like, I know that you get me, and I can feel that. And I to me, that feels like a way to what you've just described. You know, it's when we can experience that with another, then it by extension, we get to understand, well, of course, if just two people can experience that, then surely this is going on everywhere. And I can think about how, and I can feel into how this might be impactful for you know, society as a greater whole without going into abstraction, you know, but still staying in that heart feeling place. And I think that's the trick, you know, because it's so much more comfortable to conceptualize and to just go into abstract ideas of where, what, who, but to actually stay connected when we're so sensitive and when everything in us is kind of going into that like, oh, protect mode because it is painful, then yeah, how do we stay? How do we stay with our hearts open? How do we stay open despite the potential pain so that we can be connected and that we can feel each other? What a question.
Yeah, but it's really beautiful, because I remember Dara, my ex-partner, you know, she always said, she would say, love in all instances wants you to open.
Yeah.
And she's a mother, and maybe for mothers listening, I don't want to proclaim that I have any understanding of this, but I know that from other mothers that I have friends and so on, but this sense of like opening, you know, when your child has done something, or just opening, you know, there's a sense that the mother's love, this unconditional love, just you know, can always somehow open, you know. I know that, I know it can be challenging, but you know, there is this sense that open love says. So I want to just bring that in. And then what I feel we're touching on is this deeper sense of love, this depth, as I mentioned a moment ago, that when we connect to ourselves in that way, we naturally connect to other. So when I really take responsibility and love myself and connect to what I'm really feeling and allow myself to feel, even through the pain, like you just described, then I can really embody empathy and the word you use, compersion, for others, which I love this dynamic with this dialogue we're playing with. It's like, it goes back to what you said earlier as well. Is like, I can see the other, and I can, you know, I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what pain they're experiencing. I don't know, you know, what struggles or life challenges or adversity they have. But because I can feel myself, I'm pretty certain it's a different variation, but they're feeling something, you know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And even if they're not able to communicate that or tap into the feelings, because if you do, like, for example, I said to a friend the other day, you have to go after this emotional state. I don't know how this shows up for you in your life, but when I do emotional release, and to have got to a point where I can move emotions and feel, because I couldn't feel for a long time, Jemima. I couldn't feel. I couldn't cry. I couldn't feel. I like my limitation of feelings was even my spectrum of how to describe or put words to what I was feeling. It was either I'm all right, nothing wrong with me, good, fine, not bad. None of these are feelings.
Yes.
None of them. When you ask somebody how they, like, also people say, how are you? What does how are you mean? Right? It's when somebody says, how are you feeling? Do they really want to know how you're feeling?
Yeah.
When we're talking about deep connection, because if you say to me, if you meet me in the street and say, hey, Si, how are you feeling? I need to go, oh,
Yeah. Hang on.
yeah, give me a moment.
Yeah.
You know, give me a moment. Then I need to breathe. Like, literally, I have to do this. When people ask me, I'm like, even now, I have to say sometimes, you know what? I'm going to need a bit of time for that. Do you have time for that? Because if I'm going to drop in the feelings, I'm pretty much in my head right now, and I'm thinking about a lot of things, and I'm going to need to drop into my feelings. So I need a bit more time. Do you really want to know how I'm feeling? Right? Because if they ask me how I'm feeling and I drop into that feeling, and maybe I am feeling joy and gratitude and so on, but maybe I'm feeling some grief and sadness, then are they even willing to hold presence for a moment while I feel that? You know, like when people talk about connection, do they really want connection? Because in order to connect, in order to feel, we have to, as you so beautifully said a moment ago, we have to slow down. We have to slow right down, right? So that's going to stop all the incessant thinking for a moment, or at least put it on thing. We might need to check in, might need to put a hand on my chest, a hand on my belly, or even on my sexual center. And I might just be like, thank you for the pause. I really appreciate you asking me, first and foremost. yeah, I feel some aliveness in my body. I feel gratitude right now in this moment. I'm feeling grateful for this dialogue, this, and then it goes on, right? So again, it almost feels like we're rewiring and giving permission to be a species that can actually feel and be with each other.
Yeah, we have to make space to have that conversation internally, which is why the embodiment piece is so important. And that's something that I lead women through in what I do as well, is this very deep internal connection, embodied awareness. It's like, what is here now? Because surely you cannot expect somebody else to do that job for you. That this is a lot of relationship disharmony right there. Is if I ask you to take responsibility for, like, how the hell am I feeling? And that's like, no, that's my job to go, how am I feeling? And then to communicate that with you. It's not for you to have to guess. And
so it's reverse. It's kind of, I like to call it flip the pancake.
okay.
We're flipping the pancake is my fun terminology on all these, like the way we live, the way we be, the way we relate. We often have to flip the pancake. And yeah, and then I want you to speak to this actually, because you work with female body beings as well. But you said earlier, you asked the question like how to feel that pain that's coming through, and we were talking about the pain of ourselves, what's inside, but also, so I'm just curious how you feel the pain, because I know I read some of your stuff sometimes and it's highly charged, and also it has a lot of feeling. So
Yeah.
I'm curious how you move and feel the pain. I'd love to hear that. I'm sure the listeners would too. And then maybe how you see other beings as you work with them. I'd love to hear that myself too, if you feel like sharing.
I mean, yeah, thank you. Thanks for the question. It feels really connected to what you brought up before, and when we were speaking about the freeze response, and the fact that we are all so sensitive and we are such deep feelers as human creatures. And sometimes the default position that we have been used to is to just switch off and to just be like, no, it's too much. Not doing that. So then it's a whole retraining of the body and the nervous system and the kind of all of the somatics to get back into the body and out of the head. So it's a lot of the stuff that I work with, and takes one to know one, of course, is like about helping people drop from the head down into the body. And one of the practices I teach is called pulse practice. It's a pussy stroking practice, which is about awareness, something that I was introduced to about 14 years ago from a company called One Taste, which I then made my own. Lots of people do. And it's just such a direct way into life force energy and into presence. Yeah. And it's a place where so much is held and stored. Exactly. I remember one of my old yoga teachers used to say, the pelvis is like the junk drawer of the body. And if there's anything that we don't know what to do with, that's where we put it generally. It's so true. And then I would teach a class of hip openers and everyone would be crying at the end, It's just like, there it is, Yeah,
and it's very relevant actually, because I work with a lot of times men, both. It's not necessarily more or less, but it's really interesting that so many male-bodied beings, their hips are solid.
Yes, like they're tight.
Yeah, so tight. Not just like their whole pelvic region, because I work with shaking. I'm sure you do too. So shaking for me is just the most simple and most profound, powerful way of moving emotion and activating stored emotion. But there's of course a little technique to it. It's nothing. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know it, but you need to be able to soften your knees and move your hips. And it's so interesting to watch, of course, women as well, but to watch humans who can't do that.
Yeah.
Literally cannot move it. And when they do, when they liberate that for a moment and allow that sexual center to really activate, whoa, the power and aliveness and the emotion that moves is quite something. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you said pussy pulse, you go straight to the sexual center. That's also what I work with self-pleasure. So rewiring masturbation to be a self-pleasure meditation.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, it's like a complete reframing of masturbation into the realization that our whole body is a pleasure instrument. I like to call the whole body a genital. So it kind of goes back to funny times when I was younger, where people, as a young boy, used to say things like "you're a dick" and "you cock" and "you asshole." Yeah, right. And now at 44, I don't know if I'm 44, 45. It's like, I am a cock.
I actually am.
I own it. I am a lingam. Asshole. Yes, completely. Touch me gently and with a lot of compassion and care, please.
Fantastic. I like that. That is the best reframe.
But it's huge. I was in a retreat recently, and it was a men's retreat. There was 20 of us in a circle, and I kind of dropped my little piece of the reframe that I just shared. And it's so funny. A couple of men are like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm serious. And then a couple of men are like, no, that makes sense. And then I'm like, so if you see yourself as a whole genital, and as male-bodied beings, we often go straight to the penis and masturbate and wank. Even these words are a bit intense. I'm wanking the penis.
Really intense.
No wonder it's so numb. Bless us. What do you do? wanking. It's like, oh, it's so intense. But then they're like, so then I go, so when people are touching my arm, they're caressing I'm the genital, so they're caressing me. So it's like how I'm being touched and how I'm touching myself, is a completely different understanding that male-bodied beings start to realize that, oh, I can caress my face. My face has feeling. Oh, wow, it's so amazing. I can touch my nipples. Wow, I never knew my breasts could give me this much pleasure as a male body. So, this for me is a revelation. It changes everything when it comes to connection.
Amazing. I'm so delighted to hear that you are doing this work in the world. It's just amazing. So good.
Yeah, it's pretty profound. And what's so beautiful about it, as I'm sure you see when the work you're doing, but when you see somebody coming back to themselves and being able to feel, it goes full circle again, but what we feel, we heal.
Yeah.
So when we break through the analytical crusts that often hold us back from feeling, and we slow down enough to let the channels open, then we start to cry, we start to release, we start to grieve, we start to, and then after that, the joy that we feel is of such a greater sense of real joy, like real ecstasy, real aliveness, like real inner peace. It's not fake. You don't need somebody to tell you a joke or watch a comedy or watch a movie to somehow get stimulated. It's here for us.
It's the joy of being here.
The joy of being is exactly.
Totally. No, I absolutely love that. And it just reminds me of how little kids are. You have like a 3 or 4-year-old and they're running and they fall over and they're inconsolable for like a minute and a half. And it's like all comes out, all the pain, and then off they go and they're off to play, and then they're in hysterics and they're having a wild time. Freedom. It's like such freedom when we just stop trying to hold it all in and just let it run through. I often describe us as this beautiful conduit between the earth and sky, and we are the unique expression of life force energy as long as we stay clear. And it's our job just to stay clear, get rid of the residue on a daily basis and don't hold on and just experience it. It's not meant to be like grabbed. It's meant to be felt and let it go,
Right.
And then you can feel the next thing.
So that weaves into this term transparency that I was saying. So the transparency is exactly like that. It's like a mirror is transparent. Like we want to be able to have that container, as you call it, or the glass or whatever you want, as clean and clear as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's why we do. That's why we get on the mat in the morning. That's why I shake. That's why I dance. It's why I do intentional breathing. It's like sometimes people. I've been called militant sometimes. Yeah, it's like this idea of military, because I'm quite disciplined and quite, come on, let's do our practice. Let's do our practice. And so sometimes people have asked me like, that you seem to be like so on these practices, like, are they addictive, or are you just like, you needing them for something and so on? I'm like, I see myself as a whole being, complete, but I am also picking up energies all day long, wherever I am. Somebody sends me a video, whatever, I'm absorbing energy. I'm an energy being. My electromagnetic field gets, imprinted with different things on a day-to-day level. When I come onto the mat in the morning, or I go to ecstatic dance, or I practice yoga, or whatever it might be, self-pleasure is one of the key practices. I'm cleaning that container, like you said. I'm refining and purifying the container that is. I use Dara again here just to bring her, some of her wisdom in, but she described that we're walking around with a Velcro suit on. You know Velcro.
Yeah.
I hope all your listeners do. Sometimes people are like, what the hell is Velcro? But it's that sticky stuff that brings fabric to fabric, basically. And she would describe it like we're walking around with a Velcro suit on. And throughout the day, people's words, our own internal judgments and self-critic and whatever else are sticking to us. And then when we come to do emotional release, or we come to do these practices, we're literally, taking off that Velcro suit. Yeah. So just little metaphors for your listeners that might.
Oh, I love them. I love them. Yeah, so good. It's so good. I would love to carry on talking to you, but we have, believe it or not, been already talking for an hour, and
yes, of course,
we need to wrap up.
Yeah,
we do, because I have got another appointment. So, tell me, what would you like people to know before we take our leave of each other? What is the final thing you would like people to know? And we can do this again, like we totally should.
Yeah, and we may not as well. It's how many podcasts I record, and I always get so excited, and it's like we might do it again. And I've been recording podcasts for 10 years now.
Oh wow.
I started in 2011 with my first ever podcast on Simon on the Sofa show.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and hundreds of conversations later, and often I'd be speaking to people and I'd be like, oh my God, it's so damn juicy, we must do it again. And that never happens. 5 years go by, 10 years go by. But I do like the incentive, and who knows, we may come together. But if we don't, what do I want people to know? The image that pops up in this moment is a mirror. Maybe we mentioned it a moment ago. I want them to know that if they go and look in the mirror, and just for 10 minutes, just look into their own eyes, if they're able to see. If we have some blind listeners right now, then you can look into yourself deeply, even if you don't see the mirror and can't see your eyes, and just allow yourself this opportunity to really see all that you are. Yeah, to see all that you are beyond all the things you think you need to have added to you, or the accolades, or the education, or anything else. Just take a pause and see you alive, manifest. This is, for me, one of the greatest gifts we can do, and very, very few people that I've met have ever looked at themselves in the eyes in a mirror for 10 minutes or more. And even though they look in the mirror every day, maybe they look with an intention to clean their face, or wipe something off, or look at the problems like a spot or something else going on that I need to take care of. No, forget that. Just look into your own eyes for 10 minutes and acknowledge that you exist. And just 4 days ago, a recent friend died in a car crash. And this life is so damn fleeting, so damn impermanent. So we you know, I will be a blip in consciousness, never ever again to be acknowledged or known. So the least I can do for myself is in this little trajectory, this little gift of the miracle of life, where some even say they have no clue why we're here, how we're here, and how we exist. It's really worthwhile taking a moment to acknowledge that.
It is amazing. Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much, Simon. That has been so gorgeous. I've really, really enjoyed this. All
Deep
right.
breath.
Yeah, deep breath. I'm going to end us here.